Today we're plunging into a story that is truly heartbreaking, but also incredibly complex. It's a narrative that's resonated far beyond Charlotte, North Carolina, sparking some really intense national conversations.
That's right. We're talking about the tragic death of Iryna Zarutska. She was just 23 years old and had already endured, well, unimaginable hardship fleeing war-torn Ukraine. She was seeking safety, a new life in America.
And her journey just ended so violently on a Charlotte light rail train.
And tragically, her path intersected, catastrophically really, with Decarlos Brown Jr. He's a 34-year-old man whose own life story is, well, it's marked by a long history of encounters with the criminal justice system and severe documented mental health struggles.
Yeah, the collision of these incredibly different journeys on that train, it created an event that has just exposed so many systemic issues, hasn't it? It's forcing us to look really closely at the cracks in our societal safety nets. Okay, so let's unpack this. Our deep dive today will meticulously reconstruct the events of August 22nd, 2025. We're going to focus on the precise facts, the minute-by-minute timeline, and the specific location of the fatal stabbing.
And we'll delve into the detailed backgrounds of both individuals. Iryna Zarutska, the Ukrainian refugee who had just begun to, embrace her new life here.
Right.
And Decarlos Brown Jr., the alleged assailant, whose life was just this repeating cycle, it seems, of interactions with the justice system and this profound struggle with mental illness.
It will also highlight the crucial evidence in this case. I mean, particularly the surveillance footage, which is quite chilling.
Very much so. And the thorough investigation process that followed, the official reports, all the things that have brought this incident to national attention.
Our mission, as always, is to present this incredibly complex, emotionally charged story in a clear, easy-to-understand narrative. We want to offer you a shortcut to being truly well-informed about this tragic incident and the broader societal conversations it has undoubtedly sparked.
Conversations about public safety, mental health, the justice system. It touches on so many things.
It really does. It's truly a story that makes you pause and reflect on so many levels. So let's start with Iryna Zarutska, the young woman at the heart of this tragedy.
Right.
Born on May 22, 2002 in Kiev, Ukraine. Iryna's early life was soon overshadowed by conflict, a conflict that would profoundly shape her journey.
Our sources, including her family's obituary, which is a really poignant document, tell us that in August 2022, she, her mother, sister, and brother made the just harrowing decision to flee Ukraine to escape Russia's war.
And Justice Department officials confirmed that before they escaped, Iryna was actually living in a bomb shelter.
Can you even imagine that? Just try to imagine their reality for a moment. The constant fear, the bombs dropping, the daily uncertainty, the sheer terror of not knowing if you'll see another sunrise. It's unthinkable.
It really is. Yet, despite such profound trauma, her family described her as someone who quickly embraced her new life in the United States.
And what's truly remarkable, really stands out, is how rapidly she became fluent in English. Apparently in a very short time frame for someone who had just arrived.
That's incredible.
It really is. This wasn't just, learning a language. It was a testament to her incredible determination and eagerness to build a new future, to truly integrate and thrive here.
Absolutely. And her dreams were so vibrant, so full of promise. Iryna was described as a gifted and passionate artist. She graduated from Synergy College in Kiev with a degree in art and restoration.
Her family fondly remembers her love for sculpting, creating intricate forms with her hands and designing unique, eclectic clothing that truly reflected what they called her vibrant spirit.
And she didn't hoard her talents either, right? She generously shared her creativity with loved ones, often crafting special pieces for them.
Yeah, and it wasn't just art that fueled her spirit. She had this deep love for animals, apparently often cared for neighbors' pets.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, and she nurtured a dream of becoming a veterinary assistant. Many people fondly remember seeing her walking pets around her neighborhood, often with her radiant smile shining brightly.
She was also actively working towards greater independence, wasn't she? Laying the groundwork for a self-sufficient life.
Exactly. She attended Rowan Cabarrus Community College from 2023 to 2025, pursuing further education. And she was actively learning to drive, which, for many young people, especially navigating a new country, is a huge step towards personal freedom and mobility.
Definitely. And her work life was engaged, too. She worked at Zapetti's Pizzeria in Charlotte's lively South End.
Right, a bustling area.
And also contributed her time and compassion at a senior citizen center.
These were all concrete steps, you see, towards building a fulfilling, independent life here in America, a life she was clearly eager to fully inhabit.
Her personality really shone through in the intimate details her loved ones shared. It gives us a clearer picture of who she was beyond the headlines. She was a homebody at heart, happiest when surrounded by family and loved ones, finding comfort and joy in their presence.
Her mother, Anna, affectionately recalled Iryna's remarkable ability to sleep for wonderfully long stretches, which she lovingly called an artist's gift. It's a charming little detail, isn't it? Speaks to a gentle soul.
It does, and a family friend named Lonnie described her as having a heart of gold, being very helpful, very supportive, just a sweetheart. It really paints a picture of a kind, generous, and loving young woman.
And the loss is clearly immense. She survived by her parents, Anna Zarutska and Stanislav Zarutsky, her sister Valeria, her brother Bohdan, her life partner Stas Nikolitsia, her aunt Valeria Haskell, cousins Vera and Victor Faulkner. Just so many cherished family members and friends. The breadth of her surviving family really underscores a profound impact her loss has had.
And here's where the profound sadness, the just tragic irony of her story truly hits us.
Yeah.
Iryna fled a war where she endured daily bombings, the constant agony of not knowing if you're going to live or breathe another day.
To escape that, to make that harrowing journey, endure the trauma of a war zone, only to lose her life in such a violent, unprovoked attack. In a city she sought refuge in. An American city she should have felt safe in. It's almost unbearable to comprehend.
It really is. It's a stark reminder of how safety can be an illusion, even in places we expect it most.
After her death, her funeral was held on August 27th, just days after the attack.
And what's particularly striking and deeply moving is her family's choice regarding her final resting place. The Ukrainian embassy offered to help bring her home, to repatriate her body to her native land.
But her family, through their grief, made this powerful statement. They said, no, she loved America. We're going to bury her here.
Wow. That decision speaks volumes, doesn't it, about her embrace of her new country, a final, poignant testament to her hope and love for the life she was building.
What's also deeply poignant, another layer of the tragedy, really, is that Iryna's father, Stanislav Zarutsky, was reportedly unable to attend the funeral in North Carolina.
Oh, no. Why was that?
According to a family neighbor and reports from Newsweek and the New York Post, Ukrainian wartime regulations prohibit men of fighting age, generally 18 to 60, from leaving the country.
Ah, right, because of the ongoing war.
Exactly. While there have been some recent changes allowing those aged 18-22 to cross freely, her father, presumably older, would still be subject to these restrictions. So not only did he lose his daughter, but he was also prevented from being there for her final farewell, caught in the grip of the very war his family had fled.
That just adds another profound layer of heartbreak to an already devastating situation. It highlights the ongoing, far-reaching impact of the war, even on those who have found refuge.
It really does.
The community support for Iryna's family, though, even amidst such profound sorrow, has been immense.
Yes, over $122,000 has been raised on GoFundMe. It's a testament to the outpouring of sympathy and a recognition of the irreparable loss her family is enduring.
Her obituary concludes with a powerful and fitting statement. Iryna will be remembered for her kindness, her creativity, and the lasting impression she left on everyone she met. Her absence leaves a deep void.
It really paints a picture of a vibrant young life, full of hope and potential, cut short in the most brutal way, a life just beginning to blossom in a new land she had come to love.
Now let's turn our attention to the other individual whose life tragically intersected with Iryna's. Decarlos Brown Jr., the alleged assailant. His background presents a stark and deeply troubled contrast, a path riddled with challenges.
Yes, at 34 years old, Brown was described as homeless at the time of the stabbing, often relying on local shelters for a place to stay.
And what's absolutely crucial to understanding his story is his documented history of severe mental health struggles, right?
Absolutely crucial. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia. That's a serious mental illness that profoundly impacts an individual's perception of reality. Family members, including his sister Tracy Brown, told CNN he suffered from debilitating hallucinations, seeing things that weren't there, and intense paranoia, believing others were out to harm him or reading his thoughts.
That's terrifying.
It is. And his mother, Michelle DeWitt, desperate for help, even told a local TV station that she had recently sought an involuntary psychiatric commitment after he became violent at home.
But she couldn't.
Her attempts failed because she wasn't his legal guardian. It's a kind of legal loophole that tragically prevented intervention at that point. She firmly believed that the system, in her words, failed him, and in turn failed to protect others.
And this isn't just about mental health, though. It's this complex interplay with the justice system. Brown also had an extensive and, frankly, troubling criminal history that spanned over a decade.
Yes, state records list no fewer than 14 cases for him since 2011, and that's excluding those directly related to Iryna's killing.
14 cases.
He served more than 5 years in prison for a serious offense, robbery with a dangerous weapon. He was released around September 2020.
Okay.
Other felony convictions on his record include felony larceny and breaking and entering, alongside a string of minor offenses like speeding and shoplifting. It's this pattern, repeated engagement with the legal system, often for escalating offenses. It's a critical piece of his story.
And his behavior after his release in 2020, that seemed to be a red flag, too.
A clear and worrying indicator of his struggles, yes. His sister, Tracy Brown, noted he didn't seem like himself after his release. He struggled with simple conversations, found it nearly impossible to hold down jobs.
Which often correlates, right, with the challenges individuals with severe mental illnesses face maintaining stability, especially after incarceration.
Exactly. Periods of incarceration frequently lack adequate, continuous mental health support. The system, often designed to punish, really fails to rehabilitate in these complex cases.
And things escalated.
Tragically, yes. In 2022, his struggles escalated to violence when he attacked his own sister, reportedly biting her, breaking door hinges. She had him arrested.
Right.
But then made the incredibly difficult decision to drop the charges. She was driven by her deep concern for his mental health. She explicitly stated, "I knew he was battling something," and just highlights the agonizing position families are often put in, trying to navigate a fractured support system.
Which brings us to January 2025, just months before the Charlotte stabbing. Brown was charged with misuse of 9/11, a Class 1 misdemeanor.
Yes. After calling officers to investigate a man-made material he claimed controlled his eating, walking, and talking. Clearly a symptom of his delusions.
Officers told him it was a medical issue, but the charge, and what happened next? That became a major point of controversy, didn't it? Sparked widespread outrage.
Indeed. A magistrate judge, Teresa Stokes, her LinkedIn profile apparently appears deactivated since her name became a target of upset individuals, made the decision to release Brown from jail for that 9/11 misuse charge.
And this was despite everything. His homelessness, mental health issues, criminal record.
Yes. Released based solely on a written promise to appear for his next hearing. The White House later issued a blistering statement, claiming this decision left him free to slaughter an innocent woman just months later.
Wow.
This particular event, this specific decision by one magistrate, highlights a critical flashpoint. It's central to the ongoing national debate about how the justice system balances individual rights, public safety, and the profound complexities of severe mental illness. It raised profound questions about accountability, judicial discretion.
And his sister, Tracy Brown, she offered a crucial, although heartbreaking, insight into his state of mind around the time of the attack.
She did. She believes her brother suffered a disastrous mental break that night, a complete shattering of his grip on reality. She told CNN, "A person that is hearing voices in their head and believes the world is against them, they're going to break."
And the motive, what he said the motive was.
It's chilling and really underscores the severity of his delusions.
Yeah.
The motive Brown himself later relayed to his sister. He attacked Iryna because she was reading my mind.
Oh my God. That's terrifying. It reveals the depth of his paranoia and how it tragically manifested into this violent act against a complete stranger.
Exactly.
Now let's reconstruct the terrifying moments of the attack itself. August 22nd, 2025. The setting. A Charlotte Blue Line light rail train pulling into Scaly Bark Station, just a few miles outside of downtown Charlotte in the South End.
And for those unfamiliar with Charlotte, the South End is a truly vibrant, lively area. It's densely packed with popular breweries, modern apartments, trendy shops, thriving businesses. It saw significant development after the light rail debuted in 2007. It became a real hub.
A place where people live, work, socialize.
Right. The time was shortly before 10 p.m., a time when people are typically heading home after work, maybe grabbing a bite, enjoying a night out. Just an ordinary moment.
That was about to be shattered. It represents this chilling convergence of two vastly different journeys, doesn't it? One filled with hope, the other with delusion and despair.
Precisely.
Iryna Zarutska boarded the train, just like countless other commuters. The surveillance footage, which is just such a crucial and disturbing piece of evidence, shows her dressed in khaki pants, a dark shirt, and notably a hat from Zappetti's Pizzeria, where she worked.
She chose an empty row, settled in, sitting in front of a man in a red sweatshirt who we now know was Decarlos Brown Jr.
She had earbuds in, probably listening to music or a podcast, absorbed in her phone. utterly unaware of Brain or the unspeakable tragedy about to unfold behind her just coming home from work.
Doing what millions of people do every single day, completely unsuspecting. The video also captures Brown's increasingly agitated and restless behavior in the moments leading up to the attack.
What did it show?
He was clearly fidgeting, constantly moving, nodding, and shaking his head as if responding to unseen stimuli. Sitting abruptly upright, then slouching forward, occasionally swaying back and forth. His hood was pulled over his long hair, further obscuring his face, perhaps indicating a desire to withdraw or shield himself.
In hindsight, clear signs of distress.
You can certainly interpret it that way. Clear signs of escalating internal distress or a mental health crisis building to a critical breaking point. Tragically consistent with his sister's later assessment of a disastrous mental break.
And what's absolutely crucial here, something police and prosecutors have repeatedly emphasized,
Yes.
is that the video shows absolutely no interaction between Iryna and Brown before the attack. Not a word exchange, no glances. They didn't know each other?
None whatsoever. An entirely unprovoked, random act of violence? A horrifying manifestation of Brown's delusions directed at a complete stranger. That detail is vital in understanding the nature of the crime.
So, approximately 4 minutes after Iryna boarded the train, the attack began.
Yes. Brown reached into the fold of his clothes, or perhaps his pocket, pulled out what appeared to be a pocket knife, and with chilling deliberation, unfolded it.
Unfolded it. That indicates some level of preparation.
It suggests a conscious, albeit likely diluted, preparation for the act, not a spontaneous, heat-of-the-moment reaction.
Then, in a quick, horrifying movement, played out with shocking speed.
He stood up, grabbed the seat bar in front of him with his left hand for leverage, swung his right arm over the seat, and fatally stabbed Iryna 3 times in the neck from behind.
3 times. The sheer speed and brutality, it's almost impossible to reconcile, especially on an ordinary commute.
Iryna instinctively clutched her face and throat before slumping to the ground. The impact was immediate, catastrophic. Police later found her dead on the light rail, confirming a single fatal stab wound in the middle of her neck and a small cut on her left knee. A testament to the lethality and swiftness of the assault.
And Brown.
He then walked off the train, blood reportedly dripping from the knife. A chilling, gruesome detail.
Was he apprehended quickly?
Yes, thankfully. Right there at the light rail station, likely still visibly agitated or disoriented. He was later taken to a hospital for treatment of a laceration he sustained, though the origin of that injury wasn't immediately detailed in our sources.
And Charlotte authorities confirmed no security guard on board the train.
Correct. Not on board at the time of the murder. Security personnel reportedly patrol the area generally, but they don't sit in specific spots on the trains. That raised immediate, urgent questions about passenger safety and the visibility of security.
Yeah, a major point of discussion afterwards. Okay, this brings us to the investigation and charges and the intricate path towards seeking justice for Iryna.
Decarlos Brown Jr. was initially charged with first-degree murder by the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, the CMPD. Spencer Merriweather from the District Attorney's Office led that initial state effort, and Brown remains in state custody for those charges.
But then the case took a significant and, for many, maybe surprising turn with federal intervention.
It did. Russ Ferguson, the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of North Carolina, announced federal charges, elevating the case to a national level. He explained that while the act itself doesn't scream federal crime in the traditional sense.
Right, usually murder is a state crime.
Exactly. The decision was based on the compelling, widely seen surveillance video and, more importantly, the effects of that act. He vividly described the profound public fear that immediately followed. People saying, "We're not riding the light rail anymore. We're afraid to go to the park."
So it was about the broader impact.
Ferguson described the act as a terroristic act because it made people afraid to go about their daily lives, for disrupting what he called the American way of life by instilling fear in routine activities. The critical insight here is that federal authorities stepped in not just for the act itself, but for its perceived broader impact on public safety and confidence in critical infrastructure.
Okay, and the specific federal charge brought against Brown is?
1 count of committing an act causing death on a mass transportation system under Title 18 Criminal Code, Section 1992A7.
Section 1992A7.
Ferguson clarified that this powerful statute passed by Congress is specifically designed for situations involving violence on mass transportation. He highlighted subsection B1, which addresses aggravating factors related to violence by a passenger. It's a particularly potent tool for addressing threats to public infrastructure and daily life, going beyond typical murder charges.
And the potential penalties for this federal charge.
Extraordinarily severe. A maximum of life in prison or even the death penalty. That's a stark contrast to state-level sentencing guidelines in many cases. Federal judges impose sentences after conviction, a process often far more complex and stringent than in state courts.
And the investigation isn't necessarily over.
FBI Special Agent James Barnacle Jr. indicated there is potential for other federal charges. The FBI is actively investigating every available charge, including civil rights charges, if facts emerge to show gender or race motivation.
But right now, no motive outlined beyond Brown's delusional statement. No hate crime charge.
Not at this point, no.
A lot of key figures have weighed in on this case, reflecting its national significance. U.S. Attorney Russ Ferguson, he got emotional during the news conference.
He did, noticeably so, highlighting the importance of federal statutes for situations like this and emphasizing the disruption to the American way of life. FBI Special Agent James Barnacle Jr. echoed this, expressing deep sadness, highlighting the tragedy of Iryna seeking safety only to die violently. He also underscored the FBI's renewed commitment to holding violent offenders accountable, noting a deliberate shift in resources toward violent crime investigations under Director Kash Patel.
And Attorney General Pam Bondi issued a particularly strong statement.
Very strong and politically charged, calling Iryna's murder horrific and a direct result of failed soft-on-crime policies. She directed her attorneys to federally prosecute Brown as a repeat violent offender and vowed to seek the maximum penalty so he will never again see the light of day as a free man.
Clearly framing the federal intervention within a broader political narrative.
Absolutely. Asserting a firm stance against perceived leniency. Despite the federal charges, though, Ferguson and Barnacle both publicly thanked the FBI, CMPD, and the DA's office for their collaboration, giving crucial credit to CMPD for apprehending Brown immediately, which was a critical first step.
So what are the next steps in the legal process?
Decarlos Brown has been ordered to undergo a competency evaluation. This is a crucial step. Will take about 60 days in a local hospital. It's to determine if he is mentally fit to understand the charges against him and assist in his own defense. Basically, is he fit to stand trial?
And his next court appearance?
Currently scheduled for September 19th. It's highly likely the federal and state charges will proceed on separate tracks. Different legal standards, jurisdictional rules, procedural processes. It's creating a complex, dual legal battle.
And the federal involvement coming on top of a state first-degree murder charge, what does that signal?
Well, it's telling, isn't it? This federal charge is essentially supplementing the state charge. It implies, perhaps, a significant lack of confidence in the state system's ability or willingness to keep Brown off the streets indefinitely, especially given his history.
And federal sentencing is different.
Significantly more complicated, often harsher. It involves a lengthy pre-sentence report, takes about 3 months to compile covering background, prior crimes, upbringing, then arguments from both sides, and finally, a federal judge makes the sentencing decision. It's a thorough but complex process.
This tragic incident quickly became much more than a local crime, didn't it? It transformed into a significant political flashpoint, ignited heated debates across the country, touching on deeply partisan divides.
You're right. The case rapidly became a vehicle for conservative critique almost immediately. Figures like President Trump, his allies, other prominent conservative politicians, they seized on the attack to relentlessly criticize what they call soft-on-crime policies in Democrat-run cities and states.
Using the tragedy to justify broader federal intervention.
Exactly. Framing it as a necessary step to restore order. It's a critical insight, really, how a single tragic event can be quickly co-opted by different political factions to bolster their existing policy arguments, often overshadowing the complex human elements involved.
President Trump himself made strong statements, calling Brown a career criminal, a madman, a lunatic, vowing law and order.
He offered condolences, promised to get to the end of violent crime, stating, when you have horrible killings, you have to take horrible actions. He also commented on the unwatchable surveillance footage, emphasizing its graphic nature.
And the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt,
echoed this sentiment, stating unequivocally that Iryna's death was entirely preventable and that Brown never should have been on that train that night, directly blaming systemic failures for the outcome.
The political pressure extended even to funding.
Yes, U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy weighed in with a direct challenge to local leadership. If mayors can't keep their trains and buses safe, they don't deserve the taxpayers' money. And he didn't stop there. He announced an investigation into cutting federal funding from Charlotte's light rail system. And to put that in perspective for you, Charlotte's system got about $50 million in federal funding in 2023. That covered 12% of operating costs and over 50% of capital costs.
And on the other side, Democratic counter-arguments.
They emerged too. North Carolina's Democratic Governor Josh Stein called for more cops on the beat, reflecting a common desire for increased law enforcement. And a spokesperson for former Democratic Governor Roy Cooper claimed Republicans had previously supported cuts in funding for local and state law enforcement.
Highlighting the politicized nature of funding debates around public safety.
Exactly. It reveals a clear partisan divide. Each side frames the problem and advocates for solutions aligning with their broader platforms, often using historical funding decisions as ammunition.
Beyond the politics, though, the case has opened up this crucial, often painful, and really necessary conversation about mental health and the justice system, exposing significant systemic issues.
Decarlos Brown's family, Mayor Lyles, legal experts like criminal defense attorney Jason St. Aubin, they've all pointed to fundamental failures within both the criminal justice and mental health care systems, suggesting a critical breakdown in how we care for our most vulnerable.
And what's fascinating and deeply concerning is this dilemma posed by misdemeanor charges, particularly with severe mental illness. Jason St. Aubin argued that Brown's January 9/11 misuse charge was essentially a cry for help.
He did, quite eloquently. He questioned the effectiveness, even the ethics, of incarcerating mentally ill individuals for minor offenses. He cited several critical issues. First, severely limited resources within jails for mental health care.
Right. Jails aren't hospitals.
Not at all. Second, the inherent dangers of jail environments themselves. For example, Charlotte's jail saw 3 deaths in just 1 month, 18 since 2019, many linked to mental health crises.
That's staggering.
It is. And third, the fact that short sentences for misdemeanors, max 180 days in North Carolina, wouldn't keep someone off the streets long enough for consistent treatment. It creates this tragic revolving door scenario.
Cycling in and out of custody without addressing the root cause.
Precisely. Exposing both them and the public to escalating risks.
St. Aubin also highlighted a broader systemic issue, lack of long-term care facilities and significant funding cuts.
Yes. He pointed to an alarming $100 million in federal funding for mental health reportedly taken from North Carolina in March 2025. That kind of drastic cut directly impacts the ability to provide the comprehensive, ongoing care individuals like Brown desperately need outside the criminal justice system, leaving a critical void.
It shows how macro-level policy decisions have devastating real-world consequences.
Definitely. And this raises that important, deeply challenging question for us as a society. How do we balance treating mental illness with compassion, like any other disease, as Mayor Lyles initially suggested?
Against the imperative of public safety, which some argue requires locking them up, even suggesting a return to mental asylums.
Right. St. Aubin, for his part, emphasized that for severe mental illness, effective solutions should focus on medication, early intervention, specialized treatment courts, rather than primarily relying on policing and short-term incarceration. It's a complex societal challenge with no easy answers, forcing us to confront difficult trade-offs between individual liberty, public safety, and humane care.
Finally, this incident has undeniably raised serious questions about public transit safety and urban crime, sparking a significant wave of fear and distrust, not just in Charlotte.
What's truly fascinating here is how quickly public perception can shift, often dramatically outweighing actual crime statistics. U.S. Attorney Ferguson highlighted the profound concern that the light rail originally intended for access to jobs, access to education, fostering urban connectivity was now viewed with widespread fear.
People literally saying they weren't riding it anymore.
Exactly. It demonstrates how a single horrific incident can have significant economic and social implications, undermining the very purpose of mass transit. The erosion of public trust is a serious threat to urban infrastructure.
Concerns were also raised about more practical day-to-day issues on the light rail itself, like it becoming a sort of mobile homeless shelter.
Yes, critics called it that, or an air conditioning place for those seeking refuge. These observations point to broader challenges in managing public spaces, ensuring they remain safe, clean, and orderly for all users. That delicate balance between social services and public transit functionality.
And this brought up the contentious issue of fare evasion, too.
It did. Critics pointed to a perceived lack of ticket enforcement, Many free riders, or hoodlums, as some sources describe them, riding without paying. The argument was that potential revenue from unpaid tickets could be redirected to enhance security.
Like hiring more visible security personnel.
Precisely. To actively patrol trains and stations, directly addressing some of the safety concerns raised by the public, it suggests a direct link between enforcement, revenue, and public safety provisions.
But what's particularly interesting and often lost in the immediate emotional response and political rhetoric are the broader crime stats from Charlotte.
Right. The Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department reported a 25% reduction in violent crime and an 8% reduction in overall crime in the first half of 2025, January to June, compared to the same period last year.
A 25% reduction in violent crime. That stands in stark contrast to the public's heightened perception of increased danger after Iryna's death.
It really does. It illustrates how a single, high-profile incident can profoundly shape public sentiment, overshadowing overall positive trends in crime reduction, creating this disconnect between data and lived experience.
So what does this all mean? This deep dive has explored the heartbreaking story of Iryna Zarutska, a young woman who, against all odds, escaped one war zone only to tragically lose her life in another kind of conflict, one rooted in systemic failures. Failures of mental health care, criminal justice, public safety in our cities.
We've meticulously unpacked the detailed facts of that horrific night, the individual journeys that converged, and the broad, often politically charged conversations ignited by this single, horrific event.
The sources reveal this profound disconnect, don't they? Between the intent of our public services, those designed to protect and support, and their lived reality, particularly for the most vulnerable among us.
They force us to confront the limitations of our current systems and the agonizing choices faced by families, law enforcement, policymakers alike. The critical insight here is that this wasn't just about one person's actions, but about the many points where systems designed to protect or treat seemingly broke down, creating a tragic cascade of events that led to Iryna's death.
Iryna Zarutska's family, in a powerful act of love and hope, chose to bury her in the country she loved and where she sought a new life, stating she loved America. This leaves us with a challenging and deeply personal question for you to ponder. What truly defines a safe haven? And what is our collective responsibility to ensure that the promise of safety is not merely an ideal, but a tangible reality for everyone? Both those who seek refuge from afar, like Iryna, and those struggling within our own communities, like Decarlos Brown.
It's a question worth exploring long after our conversation ends.